Let's take you back to the development in Ukraine. For Nigerians, the crisis in Ukraine is not far away at all. Many Nigerians might be out of Ukraine, but the trauma continues to persist until they get to their home country. While the federal government has promised the evacuation of its citizens from Ukraine and its environs starting Wednesday, they are pleading to quicken every action to ensure they are back home safe. This report captures the pains of a mother whose 2 children are stranded at the Ukrainian border.
Yesterday night, our temperature was so low. We were trying to go to the place, and they're just chasing us out. All the officials, even the camps, everywhere we stay, they are chasing black people away to stay out in this cold.
The agony of this mother is obvious after getting this voice note from her daughter, who left Ukraine 3 days earlier.
They are too young to experience this. The trauma is too much.
In an emotion-laden voice, she describes how hard it has been waiting for her 2 children to get out of Ukraine.
They had to trek for 8 hours to Poland. They got to a medical border on Saturday. So when they got there, the next thing, they were there standing stranded in the cold. So the one that has the phone had to call the dad that, "Daddy, we are here." But they chased us, they threatened us with a gun. They chased us away, all blacks, all Africans. That is only the white, the Ukrainians that they were allowing into Polish border.
Her daughter is now out of Ukraine, but her son is yet to get access to Poland.
While they were there, the girls were singled out yesterday. Some of them, they told them, according to my friend's daughter that first got into Poland, they said it's only 60 ladies and 50 guys that they were allowed to enter the border, and it's survival of the fittest.
The Minister of Foreign Affairs, CEO of Nigerians in Diaspora Commission, Nigerian missions in Europe, and volunteers have continued to release method of evacuation, but this may not be sufficient. She pleads with the government to intensify its effort in the evacuation.
Please, I'm begging Nigerian government to do something.
This group of women sympathizes with parents with children in Ukraine, and in this peaceful march, demand an end to the war. Ukraine has also demanded an immediate ceasefire and withdrawal of Russian troops from its soil as a condition to ending the war. This is another appeal for diplomacy and dialogue to truly work for the world to enjoy the peace it deserves. Moya Thomas, TVC News, Abuja.
Let's talk this through by speaking with public affairs analyst who is joining me in the studio. Bola, thank you so much for being on the program this morning. We also have joining us via Zoom is our in-house analyst, Obani Akinwale. Thank you so much and good morning to you.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Great. So I'll start with you, Obani. Well, it's really gut-wrenching to imagine the horror Nigerians are experiencing in that country. But the Ministry of Foreign Affairs said hundreds of Nigerians have been received in Poland, Hungary, and Romania by Nigerian embassies in those countries. Better late than never, do you think?
Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, I think it's so unfortunate the kind of situation we find ourselves in this country and for our citizens outside the country. Having been a witness of a small riot myself, I remember the little fracas between Ife and Modakeke in the late 90s, and having known how long distance I have to trek from School of Science, Ife, those that are familiar with that environment, trekking through Loro, trekking through Toro 7 OAU, trekking from OAU down to the OAU main gate, and to be able to escape those little fracas. How much more in a nation or a country whereby rockets are being fired, people are being killed senselessly. It is so traumatic, and I could put myself in the shoe of those kids, and also I could also understand the kind of agony my parents went through, having known that their son was in between crossfire. But it is what it is. It is the kind of system we built for ourselves. Yes, nomadism is allowed in education. People need to learn new things, go to an environment where they are properly equipped to learn those things. It's just telling us the reality that stares on the face. that the greener pasture may no longer be green, and we should expect more of these, except we are not a fervent believer in what has been written in both scriptures. So for me, for the parents in Ukraine, it's a very, very terrible situation, and I'm not too sure the volume of English you want to speak to them as regards the safety of their words. And nonetheless, give kudos to Honorable Abike Dabiri. She has been up and doing with NIDCOM parastatal to ensure that Nigerian diaspora are there. But nevertheless, we are just looking at the issues at Ukraine, at Poland, how citizens are being treated without looking at our foreign policy as a whole, and how our diplomat and foreign embassy are equipped for disaster of such nature. The question we need to ask ourselves is that, do we even have enough humanitarian system put in place to manage local issues within the country? If you ask me, I would say absolutely not. How much more to now manage such issues in an exposed environment, which is far short in the east? And I read something on the social media one day. He said, shame on all African countries, because when these issues are being mentioned, I wouldn't know which African country can utter war against Russia or against Ukraine, because we know we are just. I want to be fair to us this morning. So for me, I want to appeal to the government to leave the rhetoric, postponing from Monday to Wednesdays, give a lot of doubt in the mind of the patient, and also let us also give kudos to Mr. Allen Oyema, the boss of the airpeace, for always coming to our aid. It's also a shame as a nation that we don't have our own national card that we can just press button, get these people picked out of Poland or any neighboring countries that is crossed to Russia. But I'm appealing to them, just like I explained myself, having witnessed a local fracas myself, that please, we don't want rhetorics. We want the 256 are already out of Ukraine. Let them be brought back to their base.
All right, I'll bring this to the studio to well, just like he said, it was a better imagined than experienced. The ministry, the authorities also said that they provided accommodation for the Nigerians who were there, and they're working on bringing them back home to safety. But how would you describe their efforts so far? Is it something that ought to have come before now, or what's your own assessment of the plans to evacuate the citizens to safety?
We must be very careful not to be sounding just too antagonistic to the government for antagonism's sake. This was a war, or this is a war that the protagonist for so long denied that he was going to foment. And the international community, especially African countries, AU countries, were more predisposed to believing him than believing the West. And many of us in Nigeria too believed Putin more, that he was not going to invade Ukraine, than the alarm that the intelligence communities of United States of America, United Kingdom, indeed some countries in Europe, France, and the cocky president of France never believed, and they were telling the world that Putin was not going to attack. Germany was ready to go ahead with Nord Stream 2, believing that being conciliatory with Russia would make Putin to be a bit circumspect. We are at a point now where he has invaded a sovereign country, and we want to be blaming ourselves for the madness that a man in his conceit has inflicted.
You want to be soft. You want to be soft with some of the adjectives you'll be using.
What do you call when you wake up in a major? Look at Lagos now. You wake up one day and you look at the skyline and you see a house in the neighborhood literally damaged as a result of rocket attacks.
Right. So the thing is, what do you think the government has done so far? It's not the intention is not to antagonize
within the context of the reality of Nigeria. Let's get practical here. And I tell Nigerians, we're very delusional in almost all phases of our lives. Look, the government within the context of the reality of Nigeria now cannot do any much better than they are doing. Who is coming to the rescue? A Nigerian entrepreneur again. It's Oyema the owner of Airpeace, is he a member of the government? At the end of the day, I think it's about time we start telling ourselves the truth. Great nations are built through the efforts of individuals. Onyema can do this favor regularly to Nigeria because he has built an enterprise that gives him the opportunity of always working for the glory and the goodness of fellow Nigerians. We better all learn to be doing as much, because the habit of just wanting to stigmatize. I'm not saying the government is you know who you're talking to this morning. Now, I'm not one who cuts the government any slack, but the truth is that if this circumstance were to repeat itself again, given the reality of Nigeria as it is, I don't see what much the government can do. You said Nigeria does not have an somebody, I think your in-house contributor was saying Nigeria does not have an airline. Does United Kingdom have an airline? Does United States of America have an airline? Right. People own airlines like Onyema own Airpeace in Nigeria. Sometimes we also have imbibed very wrong doctrinal this thing about entrepreneurialism.
All right, so I can figure out that you're indeed pleased with the fact that the Nigerian authorities are really coming to the rescue of
They can do better. They can always do better. But you know what? This is not the time for recrimination or finger pointing. We have to encourage ourselves to, within the context of the resources at our disposal, intellectual, material, human, to put our best on the table to provide succor to our fellow citizens caught in the unfortunate war caused by the megalomania and the conceit and the arrogance of a single human being wanting to save his own political life.
All right. So let me get back to Zoom, where we have our in-house analyst, Obani. Well, initially, when we heard that Russia was going to invade Ukraine, just like he said, it was believed that it's not going to happen. It's never going to happen. Even one of the leaders said it's just a hype of the media. But we heard somewhere in some quarters that some Nigerians there said, we'd rather stay there. Well, so they say, we'll die there rather than come back to the country. So what does this say about, can you relate with this insinuation, really?
Exactly what I've said. I'm just shocked that Uncle Bola Oba is trying to be civil this morning or trying to patronize the government. So to say, let me set this clear. I have never said, if you look at Kenya Airways, the way it's structured, Ethiopian Airways, British Airways, you know all these government have one or two stakes and how it works. And also, if you also look at it vividly, we have been flying here in Nigeria over the internet for almost 4 years. And if you say there is no government in the world that has private whatever, it will be also on us while we are looking for consortium to partner with the government to do Nigerian airs. Leaving that may be, it's also shocking to me to hear that somebody wake up one morning to destroy this thing. We play too much sentiment in this part of the world. What right does America and the NATO ally have to go and destroy Libya? What are the evidences that what happened in Iraq? What are the issues that's happening in Iran? What right does Israel have to fire planes into Palestine? So what is good for the Greeks is not good for Uganda. So the right that is NATO, it is the West, they also have rights to go in at any point in time, and they are the one that is saying. And I see it as another thing for us as a country that we are putting our plans on somebody else's plan. So what speaks to contingencies? This man is gallivanting, is going to do this. Has he done it before? Yes, he has, in the case of Crimea. So as the traditional Russians in Donetsk and Luhansk asking them to come and rescue them, yes, it does. Does the Charter of UN allow, Section 52 allow them to say, okay, you want to help somebody that is not powerful to do this? Yes, it is allowed. So the question now is this: do we base our plan based on what the Western world are saying? Yes, if we said, okay, because we are Western allies, do Western wars have ways of evacuating their citizens? Okay, he said, Paris and this and that. I agree with him absolutely. Egbon is right. But the question is this: how was he able for Indian government to ferry out Indian nationals out of that country? So I said it earlier. I said give it to Honorable Abike Dabiri, the Foreign Affairs Ministry, the National Assembly for rising up. But as a nation, what is our preparation for humanitarian disaster of this nature locally? What has been our reactions to the ways our diplomats, our embassies are being managed? I remember vividly a couple of months back, the member of foreign mission are complaining to National Assembly that they are not being remitted what is due to them. Here we are today. We are saying we should not blame the government. Who should I blame? You should blame me. Am I supposed to be the one to put the proper air transportation in place? Am I the one supposed to manage our embassies are supposed to work, or our commissions to work? Am I supposed to be one to put in place contingency measures when you have this kind of situation? Is it my fault that I have to export all my brains? So, I
think some of the point he also tried to raise is that everything cannot be done by the government. Individual contributions would definitely help, just like you mentioned, Alan Oyema.
Absolutely, I agree with him. Government cannot do anything, and that is why parents have to send their children to Ukraine to go and study better, so that they can come in and import those ideas and technique into the system. Government is not doing that for them. They are paying for their fees. What are they asking for? Help us. Why do we have foreign missions outside our country? Because of situations like this, because of help for our nationals, and for us to begin to ensure we follow the tide. But what I'm saying is this is not even the main issue for me. The main issue for me is that what is important to us now is that for our foreign nationals that are still trapped in Ukraine, we are appealing to Honorable Abike Dabiri, who has been doing much before now, to please put more effort. And the Honorable Minister for Foreign Affairs, he's been doing absolutely well. But nonetheless, you can't eat your cake and have it. If we have put in proper preparation prior to this time, and if we have put our foreign missions in proper shape, giving help and support to people will be easy. And until we get it right locally,
that being said,
whatever we are going to do internationally will be the same thing.
Yeah, so I'm going to have to bring this back to the studio.
It is the government job to provide security for its citizens, and other nations are doing it. They don't have to. Nigerian is over 60 years old as an independent nation.
Absolutely, Obani.
We begin to live in that reality.
Obani, I'm going to bring this back to the studio to Bolaba.
And yet we don't have any airline working as a nation. Right. I think we need to look into that and ensure that we bring our citizens back home.
Well, before you talk, I really want us to change tack so that we don't, flog this, on and on. The thing is, we are concerned about Nigerians who are in Ukraine.
We are speaking to the welfare of Nigerians who are in Ukraine.
And
but we want to be very practical. That is my point. Obani should know that the airline that took the Indians out of that area of conflagration, that airline was privatized with less than £1 about 3 months ago. You know what? The Indian government discovered that it could not successfully run an airline. They sold it to Tata. People should be reading widely. And you know what? And that airline is doing what Oyema, a Nigerian entrepreneur, wants to do for Nigerians now. I'm sitting there. Yeah. Look, I don't cut this government no slack. And, ironically, he was even pressing an ICOM, Abike Dabiri's ICOM, the foreign minister. Oh, yes. And I'm one who believes that we could have done better. We sold because we bought an angle to the propaganda machinery when the war was about happening for weeks, about 2 or 3 weeks. And other nations like America, like United Kingdom were telling their citizens, leave Ukraine now. That they were convinced that this man was going to do what he has eventually done. Nigeria, wanting to play the part, refused to alarm our citizens in the country. And like he rightly said, some of our citizens were even saying that even if the war broke out, they were going to stay. Now, I'm sitting there thinking, you know what? We are a funny set of people. Because we see reality, you want to go, we don't have the time for it. You want to go into most spheres of life, and I will tell you, how can a country as indigent relative to Nigeria, as Benin Republic, be selling petrol, pump price of petrol, equivalent of around 400 and something naira, and Nigerians will protest? You know what? Let's protest and let us make them create an environment that will incentivize Nigerian entrepreneurs. We are not stupid. A Nigerian holds one of the biggest infrastructure provision companies on the face of the earth, running railway line, running airports in Europe, and yet here in Nigeria, because we have mismatched priorities, we put ourselves in a way where we are killing productivity.
All right, let me bring you back to this. I could see that, I could figure that to some extent you give kudos to the government, their efforts so far, both of you. But then it's obvious that a lot of Nigerians who are in these countries, just like he said, and you also you also mentioned that they went there to acquire more skills, to help themselves, and then a lot of them, majority of them who had gone, are now back in the country. Some of them are still willing to be back in the country. What impact do you think this war would have on them, especially those who are on their final year?
You want me to be very honest with you? Given the situation in this country now, the war would have no impact in Nigeria. What impact has the incessant death recorded on the Sahara Desert? What impact has it given to Nigerian youngsters not to walk through the desert? What impact has the unfortunate deaths recorded between Libya and Lampedusa? What impact has it caused Nigerians who most times would have walked months to Libya, still go ahead and cross that channel? Look, a badly governed nation,
right?
And he knows. The person who is talking with me, and a badly governed nation would always have its youths, especially youths who feel stymied, looking at escape routes. And ironically, this market is too big. Right. This market is too blessed that the only major problem we have is the problem of leadership and visionary leadership. So I'm sitting here thinking, you know what, it may not be my generation. The only thing I tell myself, Bola, do the best you can to make sure that what you say, don't make talk cheap. Right. What you say, you do.
Right. So matching your words with action, that's your submission. Obani, we have just less than a minute to end of this conversation. These belligerent countries, they talked, they've not agreed, and they want to continue talking. So what do you think you're seeing at the end of the day? Is that a sign of silver hope?
The badly governed, badly this, badly that, and what I would say, what is important for me is the Nigerians that are trapped in Ukraine at the moment, government should do everything within their power, with whatever they can do to ensure that we bring these people back home safe. Not only bring them home safe. The question is, when we bring that back home here, what will they be doing? What happens to their academics? What happens to their study? We are here, we are barely living. So when it comes in here, so some of them that are not willing to come back, would rather say, where I will have 3 square meal a day, I would rather stay back there than come to a country where I'm not sure of tomorrow. But that is not enough not to ask the government to bring people that are genuinely interested in coming back to the country, to bring back themselves and bring succor to their parents, and also to appeal to government. Let us put proper thing in place. Like Egbon said, he said, badly governed will follow up. If they are goodly governed, people will not take fuel from Nigeria to Benin or to anywhere. Right. People will not go to Ukraine. Go to our universities. Look at the equipment that are there. We are still using Teraja, kilogram force to do in 21st century. What is being done and finished from primary school is what we are doing our university education. So we need to do things properly, and this can only be done by people that put in the policies and governance in structure. So please help us bring our brothers back from Ukraine and let their parents be happy for us. Thank you so much.
Right.
Brothers and
sisters, absolutely. Yeah, I think it's fighting for both genders. I love the fact that you guys, you gentlemen, actually, came back on the same ground. Thank you so much for speaking on this program this morning. Public Affairs Analyst Bola Oba and our in-house analyst Obani Akinwale. Thank you so much for your keenness of insights. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for having us.